Welcome to this edition of SAC News in Focus. I'm Andrew Lapp. Veterans Day may be right around the corner, but did you know many of the students at Santa Ana College are veterans themselves? Today we'll be discussing the struggles and triumphs of student veterans, as well as the programs run by SAC to help them out along the way. Joining us from SAC's own Veterans Resource Center are Brenda Estrada and Hernandez. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Veterans Day is just around the corner, like I just mentioned. Obviously, this is the perfect time for us to all, as a campus, sit back, reflect on, what it means to be a veteran. So, I was really interested personally just to hear the story of, a student veteran like yourself, Carlos, who, served in the military and now is returning to school. What's that transition been like for you?
Thank you, Andrew. That transition in general is probably one of the most toughest for any military member that's getting out. It's not the initial or the 2 years following, it's the initial first year once they get out. It's probably the year that they're the most lost. So that transition is very important for that student or veteran to go smoothly. One thing that our office offers is a VUB program, Veterans Upward Bound, and they make sure that those veterans right away get into college just to get their foot in the hole. And they start them off with the boot camp. They go over English, math, because remember, depending on how many years they served are also how many years that they've been out of school. So it's really important that we touch on those subjects again.
Right, and also, I guess what would be important to keep in mind there is, you're talking about people who came from different levels of education themselves.
Of course.
Right, and so, I guess maybe this, for both of you, whoever has more information here, what's the kind of diversity you see in terms of students coming in who are veterans? What are their needs and what's the range that we're looking at?
Well, Andrew, they have a variety of different needs, and they come in at different levels of being able to adjust back into the civilian world. So we have those that are just getting out of the military with maybe a couple of days in, because we do have our specialists go out to the bases and talk to them and work with those military servicemen and women who are getting out about what their options are. And then we have those that have been out for a while, have tried a couple of different community colleges. They haven't really found, their niche or a mix or the place where they can kind of call home, and they get to Santa Ana College and we're able to work with them and provide them with a lot of the resources, even if they ultimately decide, yes, I'm going to get the initial resources here, but it is too far away from home, so I'm going to go back to, say, San Diego Community College to continue to take classes there. We still are able to follow up with them and work with them. So we have a variety of different types of students that have just recently gotten out, students that have been out for about a year, and then we have those returning students who have been out for 5-7 years and have been out working and realize, I need a degree behind this, or I need a certificate behind this. And so they end up coming back. And fortunately at SAC, we do have a lot of resources for them.
I'm interested in hearing about that. For a serviceman or woman who's, been back in civilian life, but hasn't necessarily been attending school, so they've had this kind of I guess you might call it a gap period. What are some of the challenges that, students like those face?
What we found is definitely the transition from a full-time job to being a student. What does it mean to take classes? Maybe the last classes that they took was so long ago where classes were structured in such a way that they had to take an 8 to 3, in high school, and that was maybe the last time they went to class. So they're coming back going, so I can take classes whenever I'm available, like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday class, or an evening class, or a Saturday class. And so it just depends on what the need is for them. But I know we have students in our center who, a particular young lady was working full-time, has decided now to come back and do full-time studies, and she works in our center. And so our center provides students the opportunity to work there and also go to class. And so we work and we're very flexible with their schedule, flexible around midterms and finals, those kinds of things.
Okay, so what it sounds like is you're helping them balance employment with their studies. Okay, that's very important. So for students who are maybe on the other side of the spectrum, who they've just come out of the military and they know what they want to do in life, they have a goal to come straight out of the military and get back into classes. What do you find yourself assisting them more with?
Well, we have counselors. We have counselors in our center that are specifically trained to work with student veterans, and then we have our certification official, which worked with them on their GI Bill benefit. So some of them are just recently out of the military, and they have this benefit that they can use for education, which if they go to school full-time or half-time or 3/4 time, depending on the amount of units they take, they're able to get paid for their housing and their books through the GI Bill. And so our counselors kind of work with them to develop a plan. And not only them, but all of our students have to have a plan on file with our counselors.
Okay. And then, Carlos, just to get back to you really quick, I'm interested in hearing maybe a little bit more about what your personal experience has been like. As much as you're comfortable sharing with us, how has it been to come back to school from the military?
Of course. Actually, Santa Ana College, I had completely heard about this school completely by rumor. I had heard it had a really good fire tech program through some friends that were going the fire route. And the first time I stepped into the VRC at Santa Ana College, there was a student working behind the desk. His name was Ryan Rouse. And I had came up to him and I was like, hey man, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I just know I want to go to school here, and I heard you guys have a great fire tech program. And he's like, don't worry, I'm going to walk you through the whole entire thing. And then from there, he walked me through the application process. He showed me what FAFSA was. There's a lot of things that were just getting thrown left and right at me, and he kind of baby stepped it for me. So he was also a fire tech major himself.
Okay.
So I literally hit the mark when it came to finding someone to help me out through this.
Yeah, it sounds like you got really lucky there.
Oh, very lucky.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. We're gonna have to go to a quick break right now, guys. Still to come on SAC News in Focus, we'll talk more with Brenda and Carlos about what the Veterans Resource Center does for student veterans and how you can get involved.
Kevin. I'm a military veteran returning to school, and I'm a student at Santa Ana College. I went to an art school in Los Angeles for 2 years. I realized things were getting pricey and expensive. I was tired of hearing my parents talk about the financial issues we have. At the same time, I also had a desire ever since I was a little kid to join the military. So I enlisted in the United States Air Force for 4.5 years, and immediately at the same time I got out of the military, I got hired at Disney. I chose online classes because I'm able to have time management with my priorities outside of school and also with school. I'm able to control my life. My advice for a student thinking about taking online classes is you got to be on top of your game. You have to make sure you have time to do your online classes. It might be easy to forget that you have homework due and quizzes to take. So you just definitely got to be on top of it. I would say online classes are just the same type of difficulty as face-to-face class. Do the coursework, read the chapters, take the quiz. You still have deadlines just like actual classes. It's been a year, and I'm able to speed up the process where I'm going to be getting my associate's degree this December, and we'll be transferring for spring. So online classes definitely helps me reach my end goal faster.
Welcome back to SAC News in Focus. We've been speaking with Brenda Estrada and Carlos Hernandez about student veterans and their experience returning to school. So guys, we just ended on your personal story, Carlos, and how you were kind of going through a lot when you came back, and a lot was being thrown at you, and the Veterans Resource Center was there to help out along each step. And I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about that. What are the specific services, or what exactly are, if you had to give me an informal itemized list of what are the things you guys can really help veterans with?
Well, we're very very lucky on our campus that we are actually the only institution of higher education in California to have a Veterans Upward Bound program, which is a Department of Education grant awarded to us for 5 years. And so it's a total of $1.3 million over 5 years that allows us to do outreach to veterans across the state of California. So it's not just, here in Southern California, Orange County, or, the vicinity of Santa Ana College, but we really get to go to everywhere from, as far up as Humboldt, as far down south as San Diego, and talk to service members that are getting out and that are wanting to continue their education. So we review their transcripts, we talk to them about what their options are. Although we know not all of them are going to come to Santa Ana College, we also have our advisors available via telephone, via email, even if they want to Skype in or they would like to talk to us over the computer, we can do that just to kind of give them some guidance on what are the next steps. Oh, you're going to this community college, this is the person you need to talk to. So just providing them with that. But we also have another grant that's called the Veteran Student Support Services Program, which is designed for Santa Ana College veterans who are, trying to finish their education and completing either a certificate or transferring or doing both. So we have a program specialist that works with them. We have 2 counselors that are, like I said before, are specifically designed to work with veterans and what their education plans are, because we also have a certifying official in our office who certifies their educational benefits. But in addition to that, we have tutoring, we have instructional assistance available, we have the availability of a computer lab and printing services. But most importantly, what we do have in our office are students that are giving their own experience and assisting other students. Like Carlos, for example, is the lead on our mentor program, and he can tell you a little bit more about it, but I think it's a great program. It allows for students who are brand new to the campus to kind of meet up with those veterans that have already been on the SAC campus so that we can retain them and graduate them and get them to their goal faster.
Yeah, I'd actually love to hear more about that, Carlos. If you could tell me a little bit about what it's like to be in that position at the Veterans Resource Center, and what are the common things that you find student veterans coming to you seeking help for?
Well, as she said, I'm a mentor for our program, and it's called the Academic Survival Program. A former student from SAC actually created it. And what we do is we just kind of walk through incoming students and kind of just hold their hand for that first semester. We make sure that they follow up with their teachers, any struggling that they might have in classes. We'll find tutors for them. That way we could get them the right help. If there's scholarships that are coming up, we have them sit down and write personal statements. We're kind of a little bit on their case a little bit, at least weekly or through the first month, just to make sure that they get the idea of what college is really about and all the resources that they could really utilize, because it's very unfortunate that there's all these opportunities, but they're not being taken advantage of by the students.
And do you feel like, if I could interrupt you for a second, do you feel like being veterans, having served in the military, and having come from that environment, that is particularly beneficial to them, to have someone kind of not just supporting them, but pushing them a little bit maybe?
Exactly. I mean, because they're coming from an environment where they're used to taking orders. So that's coming from being a mentor and then being kind of a person that's receiving those orders. We kind of help them transition into that environment to a school environment. That's probably the most important part, because they're so used to that, they don't really know where to get help. They're so used to just being told when and how to do something. So eventually we kind of just point them in the right direction so they become familiar with the campus, they become familiar with the professors, the faculty, and who to ask for help when they're struggling with something.
And so having gone through this program yourself, would you say that your time serving in the military, once you kind of got that initial direction and that kind of initial push from those mentors, do you think that your military background helped you to, I guess, gain some footing in this new school environment?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, going into the fire tech program, it's very familiar and similar to the military in a lot of ways. And the second I started getting that first semester in school, I started getting a little more involved. I started working at the VRC Center, and from there, I kind of just took off. Because I already had the experience, I just wasn't really familiar with what I was working for.
Uh-huh. So it's just the transition really that they
Exactly.
helped you with. That's great. That's great. So I'm pretty much sold. The VRC sounds great to me, and what you guys do sounds really great. But is there a way that you know, students who either aren't veterans or just haven't really been to the VRC yet, like what are some ways that they can get involved? You know, if they feel like this cause is something that's like calling to them.
Yeah, you know, we have a Facebook page. They can follow us on Facebook. It's Santa Ana College VRC, or Veterans Resource Center, Santa Ana College. We also have opportunities for students to take advantage of, like he mentioned, we have a lot of different scholarships. So for example, the vice president of US Bank comes out and he himself does financial literacy for our students. Now, this isn't, do you want to buy a house? Let me help you. But this is, here is how basic you need to start with managing your finances, and let's talk about that. And so that's open to all students, and we usually put that up on our website. We put it up in on our center, and we have like a small board that we take out in front of our center. We're located right behind the planetarium, M120, and we're open pretty much 8 to 6, Monday, Tuesday. On Wednesdays, we're open till 7, and then on Fridays, we're closed at noon. But all other days we're open 8 to 6 except for Wednesday and Friday.
Okay. And yeah, those events actually sound really interesting. Are there any that are coming up that maybe you'd like to share with some of our viewers?
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, we just paired up with AT&T as part of a national campaign. It's called AT&T Thank Our Heroes. And they will be doing a presentation to us this coming Thursday. So Thursday, I believe, is November 9th. At 10 a.m. in our center, we're going to have a breakfast like around 9:30. And at 10 a.m. there will be a nice presentation. So if anybody wants to come by, check us out, have a cup of coffee, enjoy a good breakfast, take a look at what's happening with us and AT&T, that'll be a great opportunity for them to come by, show up, show their support. And again, we're a Veterans Resource Center, but we're not specifically designed only to help veterans. We would like the larger campus community to come check us out. We also have services for dependents and supporters.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm sold. I know I'm going to be there this Thursday. All right. And that's going to wrap up this week's edition of SAC News in Focus. We'd like to thank our guests, Brenda Estrada and Carlos Hernandez. And also be sure to catch our regular edition of SAC News as well. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you next time.